Okay, and we're live. Cool. So,
what's happening?
I guess introduce yourself. He's my mentor, but.
Oh, hey, Rob Mazak here. So, I do a little bit of everything. I'm a professional intuitive, if you will, psychic medium, and many other titles. Do a lot of different things, and really enjoy what I do. The idea really is to help people at whatever level they need to be helped or assisted with, mental, physical, spiritual. So all the modalities kind of fit in line with all that. Mm-hmm. And so it just depends on what the person is seeking or lacking. Therein lies the pathway.
Right. Yeah. It's just I guess really working through what is necessary for them to grow and learn from those type of things.
Yeah, because people feel stuck or get stuck or don't feel like they can move forward for some reason, and really figuring out
how to get out of their own way.
Yes,
type
exactly.
of thing.
What it is that's keeping them standing still. Is that a physical problem? Is that a mental problem? Spiritual? You get the point. So it's just really pinpointing it, right?
In your experience, what do you think that is?
Most of the time, it's usually the history of your life and what you've been through, and some of the things that become your perceptions, which eventually become your beliefs, which become your reality, on and on and on. Mm-hmm. So it just becomes an established programming norm for you, right? And so it's difficult to understand it without having somebody outside of you looking at it. And everybody needs that. I mean, even me, right?
An outside perspective to give context to something, because it's very easy to have someone to lay out what they're going through, and then you go, oh, just do that. But when it's yourself, you're too close to it.
Exactly. Well, we don't see ourselves the way other people do. Even me speaking right now, I have a certain sound because it resonates through my ears, but when I listen back at it, that don't sound like me, right? So everybody has a different way of looking at themselves. Right?
Yeah.
We think we're good at something. Some people are like, not so good, buddy, right? So, yeah, I would segue that by saying every counselor should have a counselor, every healer should have a healer, on and on and on. And everybody should have somebody that they are accountable to.
Even therapists need therapists.
Correct.
Yeah.
I've had a multitude of counselors come to me for sessions, right? Not so much coaching or counseling, but hypnosis and some of the
outside things they can't do themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one last week. Yeah, it was an LPC. Very interesting session, but yeah.
Okay. What do you think our purpose is here on Earth? Why do we come here?
Well, it depends on how you look at it, but in my experience, it's really to pathway of lives that you live in many places, many types of beings, plants, animals, whatever, humans, different reality, all kind of, how do I put that? Different existences. So you can learn as a soul to eventually learn what it's like to be everything and anything. And at some point rejoin with the source of whatever you consider God or whatever, right?
So we can, I think the universe and source and God lives through us and needs us to do those certain unique experiences, have experienced those unique experiences that only we can give to it, so we can learn from that.
As a human, right?
Yeah, as a human.
That came up today in the hypnosis. It turned out that this gal was sent here or to Earth. She's only been here a few times, but this Earth plane, simply to collect data and understand what it's like to be human, so we could bring them back to them as they call themselves, right? And so, it's almost like at times they're inserting your pathway is designed to go out and seek and gain every kind of information that you can about every type of being, and eventually bring it back to whom created you, so you can go, oh,
yeah.
You really look at, I don't know what he does with it, what they do with it, but
I saw this TikTok today, and it was saying that Earth is a school, right? And that these extra dimensional entities, they don't have access to it, so they have to try to trick us and whatever to get information from us from here, like that. Because Earth is like a library of information.
It is, and based on my experience over all the years with all the modalities,
Yeah.
it really has been given that the Earth is one of the toughest schools in the cosmos, or what we know about.
Yeah, it's like almost the ghetto or something.
Yeah,
I saw a couple of memes on that. I think that's pretty funny.
And some people, some of the theologians and philosophers and metaphysicians will say that Earth is tucked away in a corner because we're so damn dangerous, and we don't want to bleed over into the
What's out there? I mean, I've never experienced stuff like that, but like,
well, if you believe that what they're telling us is really out there, that there's this almost infinite amount of space, or maybe not infinite. Our universe is still expanding according to science. At like 75 kilometers per second, which is really fast. Who knows if it really is, but if that's the case, then there's billions and billions and billions of galaxies and stars, and I mean an endless amount of possibility for other life, and
I think it's silly to think that we're the only ones.
So in my opinion, saying that we just happen to come into being because some particular molecules or things were there just hanging out is no different than saying I'm going to put all these engine parts in a blender and turning it on. Just because they're there, it's going to assemble itself.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I mean, we're so...
Something had to put the pieces together.
Yeah, it could be God. It could be... We could be in an artificial intelligence, and it's a computer program, but still, somebody put it together.
Somebody put it together. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think us common men or people will ever really know what this reality is. I mean, I'm sure there's people that really know, but without the money and the funds to go build your own craft and go look yourself.
Right. And no one's God, so no one will know everything. Well, I can say the crew. I don't know, because recently I've been into like I'm God, and that everyone else is God, and that we all have to respect each other because we're all divine.
God's with the little g.
Yeah.
Right, because we can create, we can design based on our consciousness, right?
Off imagination. That's why I wanted to say that our realities are based in imagination. Everything that we feel and think is gonna be our reality. Every mental song that we play on repeat, whatever vibration we live through, that's what it's gonna be. And I think not enough people understand that if you just trick yourself into being happy, then you will be happy.
Well, yeah, basically our reality becomes what we persistently and consistently think about or process in our thoughts and in our mind, right? And so you really got to be mindful of what you're thinking about, and you're allowing to just keep, to happen.
Yes.
You can't control 60,000 thoughts a day, but you can certainly corral some of them and force them in a specific direction. But that's one thing I learned in my pathway is your perception, how you perceive something, will eventually become your reality, because if you let that perception carry on into a belief, your mind will present everything to you that supports that belief. So no matter what you believe, that's what you'll see, right? Whether you create it or not, that's what you'll find.
Correct. I think, I don't know. Let's see. Spirit guides.
Oh, spirit guides. Oh, yes. Spirit guides are really cool. The session I did earlier with the gal, we tried to ask, one of the questions we asked is, who is their primary spirit guide? And her answer was unique, because they said, depends on who you call for, or what skill set you're looking for, right? But for me, my primary spirit guide is an angel named Layla. Not the classic American spelling, but from the Hebrew texts, scriptures. And so, really cool relationship. And
well, what are spirit guides?
Spirit guides are those, I'll call them entities, spirits, whatever, non-living, not living in this reality, outside of this reality, that can influence and nudge us from the other side, if you will, right? And so they can't necessarily come in and grab your hand and go, this way, stupid, right? But they can give you those signs. They can give you those thoughts, those nudges, those little ideas that you will hopefully pick up on.
Right. I think that's why blood sacrifices are so depicted with that kind of thing. I think that's why it gets a bad rap, because spirits, they don't have blood. So they don't have that type of energy, that access to our life force.
That's true.
And I think that's why it's important in rituals and whatever. I don't know. I'm not a part of all that. I just something I wanted to add.
Well, that's a thought. I never really thought about it that way, but you're right. I mean, if you're dealing with an energetic being, they don't have a body per se. They have a consciousness. It's like consciousness
and awareness.
Right. Yeah. That's not encompassed in a body, which it sounds cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't get you know, even though humans have rough time, we also have very many pleasures, right?
With the body
eating
comes
food, having sex, having all these things that they don't get to do
because they don't have bodies, because they can't have the vessel to experience that.
Nor they can't process emotions like we can.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They understand them, they just don't
feel them.
They don't have the same program,
okay.
Right? So when somebody says, I want to know if my loved one's okay if they're not mad at me, I'm like, it's not possible for them to be mad. How can they be mad? They have no emotions.
That's true. I didn't think about it that way.
Right.
So, what happens when we pass?
I believe we just change form. I believe that we, in my experience, my beliefs, and in the experience I've had with all my clients, is what comes through most of the time is that we move from this life, we go to that space where we reset, relook at our lives. Did we accomplish what we set off to do or was decided for us to do? And do we need to do it again, or do we go on and do something else and come back to it later? Mm-hmm. But it's like a review of this life, not to judge you, but to go, you didn't have the experience, you went there to learn. The hard part is we don't get to know why we're here, right? Necessarily.
We have to figure
it out. But then at some point you decide, or it's decided for you, whatever. The decision is made that you come back somewhere, either back to the earth or somewhere else, and to experience something different. Maybe you got to be on the other side of what you caused, and vice versa, or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So I believe we just change form, like energy. The definition of energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So if that's the case, if that's really the case, we're energy. So how could we possibly not exist, right?
Why is it that energy can't be created or destroyed?
I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but I don't know how to answer that. Okay. That's just the definition that science will give you, is that basically, the scientific community will say that energy's always been here, and it just simply changes form and moves in patterns, and I don't know if I can answer that.
Okay. Well then, I guess a better way of saying that is, are we just souls? Are we all just? What is that?
A soul. So the way I look at souls, and once again, all this stuff I'm talking about is some of my belief, but also based on the experiences with working with lots of people, right?
Right.
Is that basically, the God source, or whatever you want to call that, the source to God, whatever is out there, right?
Yeah.
That we splinter off as a piece of that, and that's like the soul, and so that piece stays with each of our energetic or our beings or lives, and so that soul is out to seek and learn everything it can before it goes back and rejoins. So that's how I look at the soul. I don't know how other people do, but the soul is that part of you that's like the spark that sits inside of you, and it's a spark that sits inside of you every time you live another life.
Yeah. I think the meaning of life is to find that purpose, to find that what your soul needs, what it feeds off, what it consumes, because there is certain activities and stuff that feeds our soul, that makes us feel part of that we are. I don't know.
It's the part that drives us to learn.
That drives us.
That drives us to complete our mission. The hard part is when we come back into the periodic lives, we don't get to remember. Mm-hmm. We come in blind.
Why is that? Why?
Well, think about this. If the teacher at school told you all the answers to the test, then it would not be a test. What are you going to learn? You're just regurgitating and repeating. But if you have to study for it, then take the test. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Then you're really going to learn, right? So it's kind of that idea.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways to look at it, but that's kind of a simple way that I look at it.
I think the purpose is to find meaning in your own life, you know?
It is, and it's certainly not to make as much money as you can. I mean, money's great, and
but that's not. I think that's a lot of other people's drive.
Living a lavish life. I mean, we all want the finer things in life, sure. You know, you want a brand new car. You know, all these things, right? You know, money is a necessity, but not necessarily the meaning of life.
No,
nobody that's ever had a near-death experience came back and said, "I came back to make more money." They didn't, right?
So I had that car crash, and I don't know how I've explained it to you, but it was pretty bad. It was a near-death experience, basically. I was speeding with my friend, just having a good time, and I was taking this corner, and my car lost traction. It went over the curb. It went into a ditch, and we couldn't stop our entire football field. That's how fast we were going, but both of us. We didn't hit a tree, but a tree was attached to the car. We hit a tree.
Jumped right in front of you.
I don't know. It's just, it's hard to explain it.
Anyway.
But.
Time dilation.
Yeah, I got out of my car, and the first, when we stopped, because I don't know, it felt like forever that I was just holding and waiting to stop. I was like, we're gonna hit a tree, we're gonna stop, blah, 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 like we're about to die, like I don't know. And then I end up, we're not. Like one moment we're like hurling through it, and then one moment we're just like, we're fine. And the car stops, and like, I look over my friend, he's fine. The front windshield completely uncracked, nothing. Airbags didn't go off or anything. On the right side it did. But the car got totaled, but we were fine. We had no scratches, and it was like, I didn't know how to feel about it. I couldn't feel anything. I was like very like, I felt like I had taken like an antidepressant, because that's how I felt. But all I could think is like, I'm alive. You know, I didn't care about the car. I loved the car, but I realized like I can buy another one. I could it's just money. It's not a real.
It's replaceable.
It's replaceable. Material things are replaceable, but like. I don't think people here in the West, the drive is here in the West we work.
Commercialism.
Yeah, here in the West, we don't live life, we work, and it's sad because a lot of people think that what life is about is a job. What do you do for a living, right?
Exactly.
How do you make your money? And I don't think that's right. I don't think people know that.
Yeah, but try not having money.
Try not having money, right? Even after enlightenment, you need to pay rent.
So it's that fine balance between, like the Bible says it best. You know, living in the world but not being of the world. Mm. So you have to maintain basic necessities, but there's more to it. There's another layer.
I think it's about living in detachment and acceptance. Is the only real way to be comfortable.
I guarantee if you're laying on your deathbed, you're not going to go, how much is in my bank account, right? You're not, but you do need money to eat and sleep and have a house and all that, right?
Just like you need water, just like you need food, but it's not everything.
No. But by and large, more and more, our society is crushing us to the point where it is almost everything, and it's harder to get it. And everything's becoming more expensive. That's a whole other topic, but right, and so it's pushing us into not being as spiritual as we could be.
I think so. I think that's what is a big blockage right now with the collective, is that we are so out of control of our own lives because we don't have enough money to live.
Correct. And even if you are well off, it's still, I mean, even if you make $100,000 a year now, that's chump change anymore. You can barely have a house and a car.
That's paycheck by paycheck.
It is. And so, but I think it's by design, but once again, another...
No, we can talk about that, because I think it is. I think that this world, whoever controls it physically...
There's the real question,
yeah,
isn't it?
keeps us in fear through things like that, by raising the prices of everything, by making us think that everything is scarce when there's really an infinite abundance of everything. There's not. Everyone believes that there's a finite amount of money that they can have and that they deserve. And no, it's really that there's an infinite amount that you can have. It's just you have to feel that you're worthy of it, that you deserve that. And a lot of people don't feel like they're deserving of having $1 million, because it's like, what did I do for $1 million? Nothing. You can be alive, and like, you know what I mean? I think I need, like, that's what I want to teach people, that they're worthy of themselves.
Right.
Like,
exactly. Well, no, I agree, and so, not this session, but the session last weekend. That was the question. One of the questions from this person was, why is it that I can never seem to get ahead or become abundant enough to help people on a larger scale?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer that came through from Spirit was, it's because it's his choice. He has to make the choice.
Yeah.
Right? It's simply that, it's that simple. I know it sounds simple. It's not that simple, really, but that's the simple answer.
I think we complicate things too much. I think life isn't as complicated as it seems to be.
Correct.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just like get in their own ways. I don't know.
Always. That is the standard answer.
Yeah.
You're in your own way. But, the way things are headed, and I think everybody's beginning to see it now, is that they want a one world government, one world currency, which creates one massive amount of control. And in other countries, that might help them raise their standard. But in this country, it will lower our standards because we're so used to this. It's going to be the end of our world. I think we know it.
The more we consume, the less satisfied we become. And
right.
That's what is happening. With every day, our phones aren't enough. We can scroll for hours and we won't be satisfied.
Correct.
We become more unsatisfied by that. And it's just, I think it's because they lock us below our heart chakras. They keep us in those lower energies, right?
Exactly, because everything heart chakra and above are your spiritual connections, right? And so, if they keep us locked into the left brain, logical, worldly state, then we don't have as much opportunity or energy left over to
complete the rest.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're out of balance, you're just not a complete person.
How do you think people can approach that?
The standard answer, simple answer, best answer is to learn to meditate and do it regularly.
Okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about meditation and what is possible through that, because I don't think a lot of people actually fully understand what it is. I think they think it's you sit down for 5 minutes, you don't do anything, and then you walk and you stand back up.
Well,
and it's more than that.
Well, it is, at least to me. So everything I really know about the spiritual world happens through meditation, right? I mean, that's where my message
where you get the information from, yeah.
Right. And so after you do it enough, it's like you can do it faster. But meditation really is your connection to source, pure information, right? Your spirit guides, whatever you want. Anything out, that pure space, spiritual world outside of this world, right? And that's where everything about everything lies, right? And so if you can tap into that, you can find out anything you want, ask any question you want, get an answer. I mean, it's like going on the internet and going, I want to find out how to buy a 511 jacket. You'll get 15 million hits. Same thing here. You're tapping into the cosmic internet. So
you are your best teacher. No one else can teach you better than yourself sometimes, right. I think.
Well, sometimes it's helpful to get people to tell you the obvious, but yes.
Like masters and mentors and stuff. But I believe that you don't need advice from other people as much as you think sometimes.
No, the gal I had today, that was her. She spent a lot of most of her life going to class after class after class, master after master after master,
searching for the answer.
Right, and then I said, okay, so how do you connect? And she did it like a little quick ad hoc reading, and I'm like, holy crap, that's actually 100% right. So what's the problem? And I'm like, It's like, I mean, it seems obvious to the outsider, but not so much obvious to the person. But back to meditation. Meditation is, I've met people that can meditate with the best of them, and they can get to that nirvana space, that space with very few thoughts.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't get rid of all of them, but I've gotten close. But there's always some extraneous ones. But getting there is the learning curve. But once you're there, you should do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you should either tune in and listen. What do I need to hear today? Where do I need to go? What do you need to show me?
And they'll tell you.
Ask the question about something. Wait for an answer. I mean, there's just so much you can. It's like you're tapping into God, and going, okay, here's my opportunity to ask anything I want.
Yeah. And it really will answer back. You just have to you just have to believe that it will, really. I think a lot of people hear it and they don't believe it. They're like, what is that? Oh, whatever, I'm crazy, or something.
Well, the biggest thing I hear when I work with people is it feels like I'm making it up. I'm like, of course it does. But it's actually, if you really break it down, look at it, it's accurate. It's 100% on point.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you doubting it for? Well, people get into the notion that voices in your head is a sickness. I mean, granted, there are some
mental disabilities with
that have that, right, that you can't turn it off. It's like having the gift, but you can't. There's no off switch.
Yeah. Once you put the what did you tell me one time? Once you put the metaphysical glasses on, you can't take them off. Yeah, you can't take them off.
No. No, but meditation is the key. There's a lot of ways to do it. It's not sitting on a mountaintop, cross-legged, smoking a pipe. You could do it laying down. You could do it in a subway. You could do it on, laying in your bed. You can do it with music. You could do it moving. You could do it all kinds of ways. There's a million ways to do it. You just have to figure out what works for you.
Yeah, I like to say and think that the mind is the best drug you can take.
It is. It's also it's a very useful tool if used correctly. Mm-hmm. Like the old saying, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Right?
Yeah.
So
I haven't heard that.
That's an old saying back in my day. They were talking about underprivileged kids not being able to get through education. That was kind of the saying.
Okay. Interesting.
But yeah, so it is the key, folks, to everything.
Meditation is just the answer to everything, honestly, because all it is opening a blank page, putting a question down, and then an AI writing it back to you, basically, with your mind. If that's the best analogy I can say, because that's what it is. The mind is a computer. Of course, we can't use 100% of it all the time. Imagine if you had all the tabs, all the applications on your computer running at once, you would fry it. It wouldn't run.
Let me segue on that.
Yeah.
So we do use 100% of our mind.
Okay.
We just don't have conscious access only to about 5 or 10%.
We can't have the capacity.
Yeah, but our subconscious is still active.
Subconscious is working. Okay, let's segue into the subconscious now. What is the subconscious? How is it?
So basically, the two basic parts of the mind, or the conscious mind, which we use to get that we think we're controlling everything. We decide what we're going to do. We're going to move through our day. But the subconscious is about 90-95% of what happens. It gets us through our day based on programming, learning to drive, learning to walk. All of that's a program that we don't have to think about.
Software is already written.
It's written. But the problem, that's good, but it's also bad.
Yes.
Because the problem is sometimes bad things that happen to you get wound up in that recording.
Little bugs.
Right. And the subconscious is the part of you that operates your life, but also puts out signals to find the norms that you've created in here somehow, or people have created for you.
Because we fear the unknown.
Yeah.
So
most people do.
Most.
Yeah.
I think. What was I? Oh, I just lost it. I was thinking something very. Yeah, it's like, okay. So the subconscious, it's like our conscious mind. What we think of, that's the tip of the iceberg. Very tippy top. But our subconscious is what's underneath. What lies underneath.
Mm-hmm. It's also the private, if you look at like a military scenario, it's the private that doesn't question the general. Whatever you persistently feed it, either unaware or aware, it will go to work on it. It will go and find what you have decided you've programmed it with. Like even, so let me give you a science fact. I think I may have told you this, but 11 million bits of information around there hit our consciousness every second of the day. Our conscious mind can only process 4D, 40,
Uh-huh.
40, right? It's very limited. But where does the lot go? To the subconscious. So all these pictures, everything around you has energy. It is being absorbed into your subconscious.
Because we're still taking it in.
Symbology is important. Symbology, in the dark world is designed to put out energy that's going to affect your subconscious at a level you don't understand. And it will change. Just like your mother used to say, you hang around them boys, you're going to turn out like them. It's true, right?
It is. We become products of our environment.
Yes.
So our mind, or our realities will become what we affirm.
Correct.
Yeah. So if we constantly tell ourselves, I suck, or whatever, I'm not smart, I'm stupid, then
that's what you.
Yeah, you're gonna believe that, and then you're
programmed.
Yeah, because that's the direction you're looking in. So of course, if you're looking at like a fire, you're gonna only think about chaos and stuff. But if you can just look a couple inches to the right, you can see the awesome, vast abundance of universe that is there. Because it's always there, we just forget about it.
Exactly. So yeah, subconscious programming is used widely in a lot of secret programs as well, such as some people have heard of MK Ultra, things like that. I mean, so it is a very powerful tool. In the wrong hands, it can be also not so good.
I think so. So you do hypnosis.
Sure, I do the primary one I do is quantum healing hypnosis technique, which is designed by Dolores Cannon, who's not with us anymore, but it is by far my favorite thing. It's really connecting the client, connecting their subconscious to their higher self or the God source, whatever, right? And getting pure answers back. So I ask the questions that we've come up with, they've come up with. I ask through them to the source, and they answer back about them. Okay. They're using their mouth, but they're not talking about...
The subconscious comes out.
Yes. So really I'm having a conversation with their subconscious. Yes.
That's incredible. Because you hear about that stuff, and you never see it, or I think nowadays you can because you have access to the internet, but like 20 years ago, it's like where do you go to find that? You can't find that. You can read it in the library, but you're not gonna see that.
This is really unique because a lot of people think of hypnosis as I'm going to present suggestions to your subconscious to get you to stop smoking or lose weight, and those are out there, and I'm not saying that they're not helpful, but this one is not designed for that.
Right.
This particular, if we had an agreement that they say, well, put these statements in there for me. Okay, well, maybe we will. But I would never do that on my own.
Right. I think that's more of constituting a placebo, I don't know.
It can be, right? Yeah, what you convince somebody of, they will believe, and it will eventually become their reality. Yeah.
Yes.
That's why when you do readings, like mediumship readings or psychic readings, I'm always careful not to tell them I see something down here, down the road, because yes, that's likely to happen if they continue their current actions.
But if they're aware of it, then they might mess it up.
Well, they also might create that to happen even if it wasn't meant to happen. Right? You might have instilled a belief in them that wasn't there before, and now your prediction comes true because you made them believe it.
I didn't think about that.
I learned that. No, I learned that from a client.
Yeah?
I learned stuff from everybody.
Yeah, we really can learn something from everyone. It doesn't matter if I'm just the student right now. I can teach you some stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's like 3-year-olds that I can with my tutoring. It's a 3rd grader and a 1st grader, and I learn stuff from them. It's like
you're an open book.
Yeah. No, I was like, kids are so connected to source. I was like, hanging out with them, and I was feeling their energy, and I was like, whoa, like the way they think. Because one of them is a first grade little girl, and she wants to go into gymnastics, but she's never done it. But she's like, I'm just watching her, and like, I'm like, you were definitely like in your past life or something, like you had something to do with it, because like the way she just like it's like habit to her already.
The ability, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that goes back to subconscious programming, because usually between your years of being born to about 7, you learn by hypnosis, and you're also a wide open book.
Mm-hmm.
So you're still solidly connected to the source you just came from, right?
It's still imprinting.
Yes, exactly. And so the way you were raised and what things that happened to you in those early ages really set your life on a path. And if you don't make great efforts to correct it,
this can be it'd be really weak foundations.
So when you have young kids and they start playing with what you think are imaginary friends, they're probably not.
Yeah,
they're probably actually interacting with entities that are not part of this world, which could be good. I mean, some people believe in evil. We can come back to that, but encourage it. Let them play. Let them keep that. Don't squash them.
And that's what we do. And that's what we do. We kill creativity.
Absolutely. Schools destroy education. Lawyers destroy law. Doctors destroy health. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just throwing.
Go on. This is free, open.
Right.
So.
Well, nothing we really have. I mean, if you look at the healthcare business, it is a business. A very
95% of doctor visits are just headaches, or just like whatever, right? Well, some number like that.
Yeah. Well, most of it's due to stress, but
stress. We're just stressed out all the time.
Well, exactly, because we have a fight or flight system in our body. If a tiger rolls, back in the caveman days, if a tiger rolls up, you either got to decide whether you're going to stand and fight or you're going to run, right? And so those two systems are very important. But the problem is in our society, with all the stuff we talked about, money and
being locked in those lower
treadmill, we're always constantly on that flight mode, and so always stressed out, like the tiger's always in our face. And we're not designed to stay in that state long, and so that will break us down. That will make us sick. Right?
And yeah, I think a lot of it is just what job you work. That's the main, because that's your life. That really is your life, your job. And then for kids, for college students, it's school. Or for kids in general, it's school, because it's
the first part of the programming.
So demanding. It is. School is part of the
programming.
The break you down, and you become a mental slave almost.
A cog in the wheel.
A cog in the machine. Yep. And so my journey is to help others find their purpose and what they want to do in their life, because we aren't taught that we can do whatever we want. We're taught that.
Well, we hear that, but they don't follow through. They don't really.
We don't believe it. Not enough people believe it. And through my own experience and just doing things, when you put your foot forward and take action, it happens. That's all it is. It's just taking action.
Well, believe there's a few pieces, right? You gotta have.
There's more pieces.
You gotta have the dream. You gotta have the drive. You gotta have the belief, and you gotta have action. I mean, a lot of people say it many ways, but you gotta have the plan. You gotta have the drive. You gotta do something about it. You can't just sit on the couch and it's gonna happen. It just doesn't work.
You can't sit in your room all day meditating and expecting your outside environment to change when you don't do anything. When you aren't physically moved, like you can't expect a water bottle to move without you moving it. That's how I see it.
Yeah, well, generally speaking, yeah.
Yes.
But I forget what we were talking about. We were talking about the healthcare system you were talking about. It's not necessarily the fault of many of the doctors and providers out there, because it's really the insurance companies that are running things. They're the ones that are deciding what they're going to pay for and allow, and so the doctors become very limited, and they're supposed to see more and more and more people. So you show up thinking you're going to get all your stuff heard and taken care of, and they got 15 minutes, what are you going to do in 15 minutes? I mean, they're like churning people.
Yeah.
And so it's not, we're not here to downgrade doctors because they're doing the best they can in the system that they're embedded in.
Right. And I don't think people will realize that you can play what game you want.
Exactly. Right. You're absolutely right. I mean, so the healthcare business, one more time, is really not designed to make us well. It's just to treat the symptoms. I mean,
if you don't have repeating customers, where's your business?
Exactly. If you can make a tire that lasts forever, why would you? You're not gonna have. You're gonna get one customer. Only that one customer.
That's why there's such a big pill epidemic too, because like people are just looking for an easy fix to numb their pain. Doctors, I mean, that's what they're told to do, to prescribe these pills to push these agendas, and it's like, yes, they're helpful, but that's man-made.
Exactly. So if you take a medication, any kind of thing that you ingest, it's going to maybe work on that symptom, but it will cause additional symptoms, side effects. And then you end up
There's
taking
always
something,
side effects.
and you take something for that side effect, and you can see how the cascade could keep going.
Yep. And then you're
Next
on
thing
15 different...
Happens all the time. And there's a place for that. There's a place for Western medicine, trust me.
Yes.
Because if I go out on my motorcycle and I get in a grinder,
You're going to need that pain medication.
I want a doctor that can put me back together.
Yeah.
Yep. So don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing at all. I'm just saying that there's part of the system that's just, to me, is broken.
The more and more I realize that there's not absolute good in something, and there's not absolute bad in anything. Everything does have a duality. Everything does have a yin and yang to it. It's just about finding your place in there and then trying to transcend past that. Trying to do better than what that is, I think.
Well, that's true. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing, too.
Yeah.
Because I tell people all the time, my only addiction is exercise. And they're like, that's a good one. I'm like, sure, until you run yourself into the hospital like I have, right? I mean, you can overdo anything.
You can really, too much of anything is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're going. Overconsumption with everything.
It gets worse. So with the advent of the looming central bank digital coin that the United States is making, it's rolling out. Which
I haven't heard about that. What?
So in last year, 2021, I believe it was, there was a presidential executive order to establish the central bank. Let's get that key part. Digital coin for the United States to replace the United States dollar. Okay.
And they stopped using dollars in national parks and everything. Right.
So it's slowly eroding actual money, right? But we'll just make this in short, right? But but in that process, when they do roll it out and it becomes the only money we have access to, you can't pay with cash. And then those that control the central bank can decide you went over your carbon footprint. So you cannot, even if you have the money, you can't buy that gas, right? Or whatever, right? You see the control that can happen.
Yeah.
But back to the consumption, right? There's going to be an expiration on your money. You can't they don't want you, quote unquote, on.
I always say this: money is meant to be spent.
No, but they don't want you to save it. They're going to put expirations on it because they want that money churning through the market. So you will never be able to have a safety net.
I didn't know about that. That's
stupid. There's an article on my blog.
Okay.
There's one there.
Yeah.
And I put the links. I'm not making it up. It's there. It's on the Federal Reserve website. Everything. It's there. Everything.
Oh yeah.
By the way,
they have to tell us.
Well, by the way, nothing is really hidden. It's all in plain sight. You just have to go look for it.
You have to be aware of that it's there. A lot of us just look past everything all the time. That's why you have to trick yourself into be happy, because you can. Like, that's just where you have to put your focus and awareness on.
Learn to love how it sucks. You'll hear me say it, right?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, you're right. This a lot of people are really paying more attention and noticing it now. It doesn't take anybody special to realize we're going the wrong direction.
Mm.
But, you know, I mean, even there's a lot of falsities out there. For example, everybody says the world's overpopulated. You know, Elon Musk got on some video or some article and talked about the fact that we don't have an overpopulation problem. We have an underpopulation problem. He said that we are literally not keeping up with the deaths versus births. We are not birthing enough more humans to keep up with the death rate.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So
Japan.
the overpopulation is happening in the cities because everybody's moving there because everything's being forced out of the country. And so, right? So I did my research. I didn't take it at face value. I went and found the statistics. Since 1950, we have dropped, our population has dropped by, our population, new births, has dropped by 75%. And it's a reality. So we have an underpopulation problem.
Yeah. And then Japan is getting older. Their population is like reversed.
Right. Nobody really wants to have children. And somebody mentioned this the other day. It's too expensive to have kids.
It's too expensive. Like, more and more people are waking up like, why would I have kids? Why would I go through that? Why would I put myself through that when I can be free and not have to have that responsibility for 20 years of my life? And I get to actually see what I get to have the money, because that's the main problem in this world. Having the money, because once you have the money, once you have the resources, you can do anything. It's just about having that ability to go and do that. And I think more and more people are like, I don't want to have kids because I want to explore the world. I want to have the money to do that stuff.
I think part of that's the culture of the younger generations. I mean, I'm not speaking for your generation, but I hear this from my kids. It's like, younger people don't want that necessary commit to families and children. And, you know, they come in different, it's like a hookup culture.
Oh, yeah, big time hookup. No one wants commitment because too many people are afraid of getting hurt now. A lot of people don't want to go through that. And I think a lot of people also, I don't know, they're not secure in themselves. And so there's not, connections and relationships aren't like how they used to be. I don't think.
No, but plus, if you look at Dolores Cannon's stuff and her information, the one that designed the hypnosis, the newer generations are coming in with the upgraded DNA, whereas people like in my generation are building into it. You guys are coming in with a whole different set of skills and a different way of looking at things because you got a better connection right from the get-go.
Okay.
You may not understand it, but it's just a different. This is different biology almost in a lot of ways.
Yeah, like almost like a upgraded.
Yep.
Yeah.
Upgraded human. Yeah.
Upgraded human, just different versions of the human.
So like not 10-strand DNA, 12-strand DNA.
Yeah. Wow.
So I mean I can't prove that, but this is just.
How can you? Because we have a lot of junk DNA, but that DNA is there for a reason.
It's not junk DNA. If you look at if you read the right stuff, you'll see. I've read a lot of it. I would have a hard time summarizing it, but when I read it, it makes sense, right? But so, for example, a lot of people say the third eye gets calcified because of all the fluoride and all these things, and that's what we connect with. So they're trying to squash it. I'm 62. If that was the case, how can I still connect? It must be. If it's not happening here, where is it connecting? I think it's through our DNA. Why do you think they collect DNA from people? Because that becomes our signature, and now they can track us because we have a very specific signal. But the point being that 97% is not junk. That is used. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of information there, but it surely must be being used to be part of the cosmos, if you will.
And if we look at the shape of a DNA like structure, the way it's like almost like the infinity. I don't know. There's a lot of symbolism in it.
Double helix, like the Kundalini, all that, right?
Yeah.
The risings. Yep. Yeah. So the DNA it's very complex, and they said they mapped it all, but 3%. I mean, somebody may have, but I haven't seen it. I'm not saying it isn't, but
I don't think science is there yet. But we don't know.
Well, that goes back to, you know, us being created or just popped out of nowhere. We are so complex. it's astronomically amazing that this body has so much in it. I mean, you think about one simple fact. We have, 50 trillion cells or so, with a small amount of electricity in each cell. We're about 3.5 trillion volts of electricity walking around.
We're all like little black holes, or like that's how I see us. Like we're all like just stars at the center of ourselves.
That's a good way to look at it. The spark we were talking about.
Yeah, spark. Okay.
Right. So I mean, there's a lot of ways to. I say a lot of ways. I guess I'll go with that. There's a lot of ways to describe a lot of things. Everybody has a different name for everything, and so, I would caution everybody to not chastise other people because they do certain things a certain way. I think we're all trying to connect with our source in some way, right? God, Allah, whatever you want to call it, right? We all have a different way of doing it, a different name, different methodology. But if you really compare them, they're very much the same.
Very similar. I like to say that like witches have spells. We have manifestation. Science people have quantum mechanics and all that. There's placebo as well. Like just all that. Like it's all the same thing. It's just different names and styles of doing it. Which is interesting because it really all just leads back to one thing. Like everything is just one. Everything is just one, and it's like, how do we better connect that and like create a sense of community again? Because I think that's like what we need in this world. Well,
the problem is let's look at it this way. If you were running this world, right? If you were trying to corral and control 9 billion people, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't do it by letting them come together and become one. You would divide them to be able to conquer them. Race against race, ethnicity against ethnicity, all these things that don't allow people to ever create a common bond.
When it's just people versus people at the end of the day.
Right. But if you look at the United States, we are almost 400 million, in there somewhere.
Really?
We're governed by 535 people on the surface. Right?
Yeah.
Think about that.
The surface.
That's Congress and the president, all that, the whole system, right? And those people are probably governed by fewer than that, right? But if we all could agree, they wouldn't have a chance, right? Nobody that runs anything would have a chance. But the problem is you can't get two people to agree on anything, right? But I agree. No pun intended. But I agree that we do need to create that, right? But the thing is, we're really just a bunch of individual drops of water in a sea. We're all in the same medium.
Ocean.
Right?
Yeah.
All this is not space between us. This is all filled with stuff. And so we're all connected. So if I make fun of him or chastise him, I'm really chastising myself because he's still me.
Let's go to that, because we are taught this at the very beginning of our lives and then never gets brought up again. The golden rule: just treat others how you want to be treated, and that's what you get.
Well,
as within, so without.
I would change that a little bit, though.
Yeah, I think it's
treat people how they should be treated.
Okay.
Because if you think about this, treat people how you would want to be treated. Maybe I'm a sadist, and the way I want to be treated is not good.
Well, that's a good way to put it. Because isn't that what it is, though? Just like
treat people like you would want to be treated. Well, really, you could even do it a little different. Treat people like you would treat your kids, right? I mean, you're going to feed your kids, you're going to take care of them, you're going to make sure, but it should be the same.
I think so, and I think too many people are unwilling to help others because they think that they have too much on their own plate, or not even that. It's just that I don't know, because I went on that Caleb Hammer video, and it was like so negative. I received nothing but negativity, and I was like, why is there this negative energy vortex that is just here?
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Well, it's because that's what people thrive on.
negativity.
Yeah, I mean, people love problems. That's the reason well, it could be both ways. The reason they put gun violence on there is people want to see it. But at the same time, it's like both ways. You know, it's crazy. I mean, it's like people would rather spend money and time on the negative things and the things that are problems. Because, like, I think David Icke said this. He's one of the alternative news guys in the UK, right? What you fight, you become. So if you're against war, if you got a war rally against war, you're no better than the people trying to create war, because you're fighting the people who are.
Yeah, killing just leads to more killing.
So like Mother Teresa would say, don't invite me to a war rally, invite me to a peace rally.
A peace, yeah, that's good.
Become what our job, I think, is to become the solutions, not fighting
be the change.
Not fighting the problems.
Be the change you want to see. I think that's how it is. I think that's the only way to really do it, because when you fight against something, when you're resisting against it, it just creates more resistance.
And you become like them.
Yeah. And then, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I agree.
So can we really speak things into existence, do you think?
Oh yeah, I can give you some examples. Well, it's not necessarily instantaneous.
There's a time delay, just like a child. Takes 9 months to get created and birth.
for good reason, because if we got everything we wished for, our life would be jacked up. You know, thank God for unanswered prayers, as some people would say, right?
Yeah.
You know, how many times have we prayed and prayed and prayed because that's the woman for me, and then you look back and you go, oh my God, she turned out to right?
It's true, yeah.
So it comes back to that consistency and persistency we talked about in meditation, right?
Yes.
If you sit down and you put out intentions, you play them in your mind as if, like I said, the subconscious doesn't not know what you imagine or what this is out here is real. So it acts on whatever you visualize, but it won't do it necessarily with one or two times. You got to sit down and really do it. So I've definitely manifested some things very specifically by doing that.
Yeah, you can't change with one therapy session.
Exactly. You can't get to 300 pounds and expect to diet for one day and be back to your high school years.
You have to. Everything is like a muscle. You have to train it. You have to keep working out to maintain it. Otherwise, it disintegrates. You lose it. I don't know.
Exactly. It's like going to the gym, right?
Just feeding it. You just have to feed it. Make sure you feed it, and it won't die.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of like building a fire is a good example, right? So to build a fire, you don't try to light the big logs first. You got to start with small sticks, small ideas,
you have to build it up.
Build it up, bigger sticks, and then you get this big roaring fire. We've made our goal, we've made our dream, but if you don't pay attention to that dream, it will die out unless you continue feeding the fire, right? Because success, for example, and your ideas, your dreams, and your goals are not a destination. It's a journey.
It's a journey, yeah. Because it's almost like once you get to your destination, like you're there, but you get used to it.
You get complacent.
And then you need more, and then you need another upgrade.
Another mountain to go climb.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Another mountain climb. That's
right, because there's nobody more hungry than the wolf climbing the hill. The one on the top of the hill is not as hungry as the one trying to get there. Right?
That's a good way to put it. I got goosebumps from that.
It's not my saying, but but
saints are saints.
Right.
What do you think there's accidents, like accidental success, or were people meant? Is there destiny?
In a way, there's a couple ways to say that. I've seen it in my experience. I've gotten information through hypnosis and different things where sometimes people come into a specific life as a reward because they had really bad ones, really, or they're getting a reward life because
that was their karma.
Because they're about to have a really crappy one.
Oh.
Right? And so it's like their rest period, their reward, right? So sometimes people come in with the golden spoon, and you wonder why the people do and some people don't. And so it really depends on what was chosen or you chose. But the way I believe it is whatever you decided before you came here, you have milestones that you're trying to meet.
We sign certain contracts.
Right. And so if we're supposed to learn these things, succeed in these things or whatever, different milestones, but then the free will comes in, it's like, and the memory goes away. How we get there, or if we get there, is really the problem, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I think yes and no. I'm not a hardcore determinist, meaning everything is completely planned out.
Yeah.
But I do believe there's big key points in our life that are.
I think certain things are meant to happen, just like that Uber ride today. Like, I didn't know who I was going to get as my Uber.
Oh, there's no coincidences, if that's what you're saying. All synchronous.
That too. Everything is synchronistic, but like something like destiny, yeah. Like, are there certain people meant to become? I don't know, like just people, like like because there are certain things that happen to us that were out of our control, and it's like, how could that happen? Like, why? Like, and then I think that's where a lot of self-pity comes from sometimes. It's like, or not us not feeling we're worthy, because it's like, why is God treating us this way? Why is God bringing this to me? Why?
Well, let's think about that. If God created us, I'm pretty sure He did,
Yeah.
to have free will, which is not on many of the other planets based on my experiences with clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
Earth is one of the few places where free will is in place. So if He's going to direct us and give us hardcore everything, then where's the free will? if everything's determined, where's the free will?
Yeah.
So you could argue that all kind of ways, but that's the way I look at it. If we have free will, then yes, we came here to accomplish certain things, but that's up to us, right? But yes, if that comes back to the spirit guides, right?
Yeah.
They arrange things, and if we pay attention, we'll catch it. If we don't, we just lost that opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm. So, how do they try to communicate with us?
Spirit guides?
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways. Some people see the same numbers over and over.
Mm-hmm.
For me, one of the things, I saw this on a YouTube video or something, right? Where, anyway, what I decided to try it. I said, look, I'm going to ask for a very specific sign that what I'm asking about or what I'm doing is appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the right place, whatever. And so I adopted it from a video. I asked for double rainbows as my sign, right? Mm-hmm. And so double rainbows sounds cool in the sky. I've seen it maybe a couple times. But it could also come across as a light flashing prism on the computer, and boom, there's two rainbow things on the floor. And so that's happened many, many times. And so
I will steal that. That's cool. That's cool as hell.
It is. I mean, sometimes I'll see it in computer monitors. I'm thinking a thought like, oh, this job sucks. I don't know if I want to be here. I look up and there's two.
You're like, damn it.
All right, I'm here.
Yeah.
So communication happens a lot of ways. The key is learning to develop that relationship, so you understand when it's them that's showing you, right?
Yeah.
But if you never make contact or try to make contact or develop that through meditation, you may never understand their language or their signs. I always tell people, they say, I keep seeing 3 3s and 4 4s and 5 5s and all this. I'm like, okay, I want to suggest if you see repeating patterns, they're trying to get through to you. So I would suggest you stop in that moment. What were you thinking? What were you trying to decide? Yeah. What's going on? That moment is important, right? So I believe that they present everything we need to us every second of every day. It's just figuring out how to pick it out.
Yeah, we always have what we need. We always, at every moment, will have exactly what we need. We don't feel that. Because sometimes our wants are bigger than what we need.
Nothing wrong with wants.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But if it goes out of balance,
yeah,
then once again, too much of a good thing, right?
It consumes you.
Right, I agree. So now there's probably 1,000,001 ways that they communicate, but you just have to figure out what it is for you. Right?
And let me segue into this, psychedelics. So I've gone through a few experiences. I haven't had any extraterrestrial encounters yet with it, but we know with DMT and LSD and stronger things that happens, that people break through when they take these certain substances. And what is that? Because it changes our perception.
Okay, so DMT,
but our soul's still there.
Those things activate the natural DMT that we have in our minds, our brains, that cause that spiritual connection to happen, like in dreams and things like that. Right?
Because we get drips of DMT throughout the day.
Yeah. And so the thing with the psychedelics is they massively open it up all at once, and you just get flooded, right? And so you have these massive experiences, spiritual experiences,
powerful experiences, but
you, to me personally, I'm not a plant medicine guy. I'm not any of that. I'm not saying this is bad. It's not for me. I can do the same thing through meditation. I can have the same experiences, and I don't have to take that. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not
It's for
discouraging.
different people.
Right.
It's for certain people. I've had it, and it's been very therapeutic for me. I can show you actually right now. Where is it? I'll show you in a little bit, but I documented a 3-gram shroom trip, and I walked to my school's my elementary school, and I just meditated there, and it was very, I don't know, I found peace almost. It was like, because everything that I've been going through recently, my car crash, my leaving friends, I cut family members out that were toxic, just everything that was bad for me, that was holding me back, I pushed it aside. I was like, let me do what I need to. And so by being there at the school, it like brought me back to like a lot of memories, and I was like, I don't know, I think there's too much stigma around it with the war on drugs, because with the war on drugs, it's the control and cutting off of the access of those powerful medicines.
Right, and I know people that have really wonderful experiences with those psychedelics and plant medicine, and I also know people that have really bad experiences. So it just depends. Yes. It's like the old acid days, right? Back in my time, you could have a really bad trip, or you could have a really good one.
Well,
you just kind of like a luck of the draw sometimes.
It's never a bad trip. It's just you don't know how to process it, because every trip is an experience. For me, I think I take shrooms. I haven't dabbled with LSD. I think it's too strong.
Yeah.
LSD's strong. Shrooms are a little more okay for me. But for some people it's the opposite, because shrooms, they take you on the trip.
Right.
And so it shows you what you need to see, what you need to process, and I don't know, I'm interested in it.
I would interject here and say to the audience or anybody listening, if you're going to do any of that stuff, especially for the first time,
do your research.
Well,
know what you're doing, be safe about it.
That, and also find somebody that can facilitate that.
Get a trip sitter.
Right, exactly. Because you may end up, who knows, there's all kind of
you can get lost. You can, I said they're powerful for a reason, because it's not something you can regularly do. It's not.
I wouldn't, no.
Yeah.
Because to me that's a great shortcut, but if you're always doing that,
you're always drunk, you're always this, you're always that. Yeah.
But you can do the same thing with meditation if you get good.
Absolutely. Transcendental meditation. Is it transcendental meditation?
That's what a lot of people call it. That's because you're leaving your consciousness is leaving you, and you're going out and right.
I'm trying to experience that. I have a hard time visualizing getting deep into meditation. I don't know what is blocking that yet, but
well, let's talk about that, right? So I do know a lot of people. About a year ago, my first client that had aphantasia, which is not being able to visualize. They literally can't close their eyes and visualize anything. it's just a blank screen, right? I'm like, that's odd, but I guess it's fairly common. And so I've been kind of struggling with why that happens, but the client I had 2 weeks ago was a counselor. I brought up that gal as an example because he had never heard of it. And he goes, he said something really profound that made a lot of sense. Maybe in other lives she misused that power, and this time she needs to come in blind and learn how to do it the old-fashioned way.
Okay.
I'm like, that might make sense.
That might make sense.
I don't know. I mean, that just sounded really pretty accurate to me.
I agree, because I was watching your podcast, and you had said in your own past life, your previous life, you were a Auschwitz,
SS officer in Auschwitz, yeah, in charge of the gas chambers, yeah.
That's insane. And you got the name of him and everything
which is uncommon for me, because when I do any kind of connection, even for other people, I don't get names. But this was so the way it happened. I mean, I'm pretty good at looking at past lives for myself, pretty easy. But I was at a fair, and they had some guy had this big geometrically aligned chair with all these crystals, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna go try that. So I sat in there. I mean, literally within seconds,
whoa,
I was popped into this life, and I could feel. I was like I was there.
Yeah.
And there it was, an SS officer in Auschwitz, hanging out with Hitler, the whole 9 yards. I'm like, oh my goodness!
Wow.
I'm like, I need to know the name. I mean, I said they allowed me to look down at the uniform because I was a military guy, right? And I saw the name, and after I was done, I went and researched, and that person, in fact, existed.
Yes.
And did exactly those jobs. So whether I tapped into something else or it was really my life, I don't know. But what I saw, was a reality.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's.
But it traverses over past life stuff. Karma will come over. So in this life, guess what I have? Asthma, right? Right. And so it's like, okay, buddy, you want to know what it's like not to be able to breathe fully?
That's
there
what you
go. You get a whole lifetime.
Karma.
But I didn't learn that. I learned that in that podcast you watched. That guy that interviewed me brought that up. He goes, maybe that's your karma. I'm like, holy crap, I like you.
Yeah. Never thought about that.
Right. I never linked it.
What about dreams then?
Oh, dreams are cool. All right, so dreams are basically as you go to sleep, your conscious mind shuts down. Your subconscious is connected to everything, like we talked about.
Gets it roam free a little bit.
It does, right? I think we astral travel every night. I mean, but you're also a command audience to the spiritual world. Right?
Wait, what does all that mean?
A command audience.
And
we'll come back to that, but let's say command audience, which means you are completely theirs. So they have a clear communication to you, right? Because most people don't do the work in an awakened state. So they work the back end, and so they come straight in through your subconscious, and all those images and things you see in there all have meaning. If you pick out all the symbology, you're in a vehicle, you're in a building, or you're in whatever. If you go research it and start figuring out what resonates with you, then you start to understand what the dream means.
Can you tell me? So this morning, I have a really bad sleeping schedule. I usually go to sleep at like 8 in the morning, wake up at like whatever. Last night I was able to go to sleep. I woke up tired, but I felt fun. I felt fine, and I remembered exactly my dream like moments before. I was in like some nightclub, and a girl walked by. We met eyes. It was almost like our souls connected. Like we knew we were in a dream, because at that moment I was like, I'm dreaming. I know I'm dreaming. And then I woke up, and I looked at the time. It was 10 in the morning. I was like, what the heck?
Well, generally what I've come to learn...
And it was a girl I've never seen before.
Right, no, that makes sense. But generally what I've learned about dreams over all my years of researching is that when you find yourself in a structure, a house, a building, whatever, it represents some part of your consciousness, right? Lower floors usually mean subconscious. Higher floors, conscious mind, right? Okay. And so the club, I have to kind of work through, but being...
I don't know if it was a club, but it was a setting where a lot of people were like...
Right, and so it may represent the fact that you have all these experiences with people all your life, right? And you're stored in your mind, but there's one person that really stands out that perhaps you're going to meet or you have met, but that you can only meet here. I mean, there could be a lot of ways of looking at it, but you might want to capture that picture because you might likely meet somebody.
I know what she looks like.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm like, I know what you look like. She has a little mole on her right cheek.
Exactly, right. And so I would document it because it may, a couple of years, it might be a while before it happens, but whether you're going to be in a relationship or not, it's like, I know you. I have met you already.
Yeah.
Right? And so
that's cool.
Dreams are so cool. I mean, if you find yourself in water, it usually represents emotion. If you're in a vehicle of any kind, plane, train, automobile, boat, if you're operating it, that usually means they're telling you that you're taking charge of your path, right?
Yeah.
If you're a passenger, you're letting somebody else do it. If you're driving and you're trying to control it, but you can't, it means you think you're in charge, but you're not. Too many circumstances. I mean, driving backwards, you get the point, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, there's a lot of symbology if you take the time to do the research. The internet, I mean, it's a wonderful thing, right? You'll find 10, 100 definitions for the same thing, but you just figure out what works for you.
Yeah, it's always like, okay, that resonates.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, when you do learn to meditate, it's like conscious dreaming.
It really is.
Yes.
It really is. I mean, it's basically like daydreaming. Like, think of that. Like, I think.
No, dreams are really cool because I had a gal in hypnosis that asked this question that really the answer stuck with me. She says, why, when I go to sleep, am I dreaming all night long and I wake up tired? Even though I've been in sleep for 10 hours, I'm tired. And so I asked the question, and the answer that came back through was, well, if you did the work in your waking state, we wouldn't have to bother you at night. I'm like, oh, that's classic.
That's a good one. So, do we sleep to recharge?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there's science behind that. That's not metaphysical at all. But yeah, you can't go forever without. I mean, some people have, but generally you can't.
Right.
You start to get delusions, and it's just like a computer. It needs to go to sleep once in a while. It needs to restart sometimes.
Or also overheat.
Right. Exactly. Right. And so you just have to. It's the conscious mind that needs to reset, not the subconscious. It's always going.
So the conscious mind is what needs the break. What
Yeah.
it needs. Okay. Because I found recently that I can sleep less. As like before, I needed a lot of sleep, but now it's like I just take naps here and there, and like I don't know.
Well, a power nap of 15-20 minutes can do you. I find that if I take a nap during the day, 15-20 minutes, I feel like I'm completely recharged. But if I take an hour or longer, it's
because the brain is going through the different sleep cycles. Yeah,
exactly.
And I think that's why a lot of people fall asleep during like massages because they get relaxed, and then they wake up and they're like, wow, I feel great. Because you get like, I don't know, it's cool.
Yeah, I don't know the exact science behind it. I've read it, but I couldn't repeat it. But yeah, it because there are people that have had real mystical experiences after being awake for 4 or 5, 6 days. Right? It's just they become delusional in a lot of ways. Your computer's not functioning right.
Yeah, it starts lagging. It starts lagging. Okay.
So I can't officially answer that, but I do know it does need to rest and reset.
So once altered perceptions happen, is that a real experience?
Okay, you have to rephrase that. What do you mean by
like with psychedelics, and then with altered mind states, with not having enough sleep, where you start to see and experience things that aren't necessarily real? What is that, do you think?
That's seeing beyond the program. That's this program, right? This reality.
This simulation, almost.
Whatever you want to call this, right? Because we're only we only can see and experience with our senses about 1% or less of everything that's available. So it's just tapping into the other 99%, right? Really, or the spiritual. Or you can look at it in a lot of ways. I don't think it's permanent, but it's once you do it often, it's a lot easier to traverse, right? It's like the muscle thing, right? But I think the other thing that really cautioned me about not doing psychedelics and DMT
They can
stuff.
ruin their mind. You can get messed up. Don't play around with them.
Well, David Wilcock actually says that. I don't know if you looked at his
I'm not
stuff, but
familiar.
he claims to be the reincarnation of Edgar Casey, which who knows.
Who's
That's
that?
real.
Who's
Edgar
that?
Casey's Great American Prophet. You'll have to look him up. It's
Okay.
really cool.
I'll ask AI right now.
But he said something that really stuck with me years ago was the problem with doing psychedelics is if it opens your third eye, right? For example, some people get stuck open wide and they become then very schizophrenic. I'm like, ooh, that doesn't sound fun.
Yeah. Because it does. I don't have the picture, but there's a picture of what happens when your mind is on psilocybin, and there's like normal connections, and then once you see like the way it connects when you're on that, it's like 100 times.
Oh yeah.
It's just like way more connection because that's what mushrooms are. They have like the system of talking to each other underground and stuff. I know there's a Japanese thing where they put a mushroom into like some chamber and it rooted out like the train system or something, and they found more efficient ways to map it out through that because it found the connection, it found the maze. I don't know. It's
Well,
incredible.
outside of psychedelics, I think that we forget about nature. We forget that you go out there and hug that tree or communicate with that tree. It knows more than you could ever imagine because it's connected to the earth, and the earth holds great information. And I think we forget that because
That's why Buddha meditated under a tree, a
Right.
Bodhi tree, because that's the knowledge tree.
as I was out last couple of weeks, like I said, running through the woods,
Mm-hmm.
evading drones for their training purposes, not because I'm illegal, but pretending to be one.
Yeah.
But I found myself hugging trees to keep my body heat with the warm tree so that they didn't pick me up, right? But in that instance, it's like, you imagine the conversations you have with a tree that's been there for 100 years.
Uh-huh.
It's like...
Everything
what?
has a consciousness.
Yeah. I mean, they talk a little slower, but they got time.
That's funny. Yeah, they do have all the time.
But yeah, I think. But you're right. There are certain. There's a lot that we can do naturally
Mhm.
that really gets rid of the need to do chemical enhancements, right? You know, in all our food, whatever, right? The nature part of everything's just going away.
Yeah, everything is becoming more processed and artificial, and that stuff is why we become big here in America, because that's our food. All our food is processed.
And it dumbs us down.
Yeah.
It gets rid of our connection. And even psychotropic drugs for mental conditions, they're prescribed a lot more widely for much very benign or very small problems. It dims down your connection fiercely.
It changes your mood. It
does
does
that.
everything. It does everything to
It
you.
drops your libido, it drops everything,
Yeah.
and so it just ruins relationships. But it's the mainstay, right? But I know a lot of people, including many of my family members, that were hardcore addicted to prescription drugs.
Mhm.
Not because they had pain, not because they had, because
It's
it's
an addiction.
It is.
It's not their fault. It's because you go to a doctor for help. They're supposed to help you, and then they end up
hurting you. Right?
Yeah.
hmm Well, yeah, exactly. And so it is an interesting time to be alive. I mean, I'm sure every generation said the same thing, but this is far in our known history, far in.
Who knows what's gonna happen?
It's like everybody. I mean, the way you look at it, it looks like the end of the world has been prophesied, but every generation said the same thing. So who knows, right? But
I still think we have another 10, 20, at least. I don't know. I think in the next 5 to 10, though, everything will set up for the next era. I don't know if America will end their dynasty yet. What's going to happen with all that?
we'll just be absorbed into the global.
A lot of stuff is unknown. I think.
Well, by us.
By us.
Sure. If you know the plan, you can predict the future. It's not hard. Yeah, it is crazy. You know, so that's interesting that you bring it up, because one of the questions that this gal had today was, says Dolores Cannon, the hypnosis creator, right? Talked about the fact that she'd been told for many, many years that the earth was going to literally split from the old earth into a new earth. Apparently it's the first time it's ever happened in our universe, and there's a lot of entities and worlds paying attention, right?
I read a story like this. That's insane.
It was supposed to happen before she died. She died in 2014. Her question was, did I miss it? You know, was I that far off? And what it turned out to be is she took an exit point, but we're not there yet. But it's still supposed to happen. But there's more to prepare for this new...
I read a story exactly like that.
Almost like the rapture in the Bible.
No, yeah. It's like, the story is that extra dimensional beings come here, and then we start playing their game. They have these rules for us. They introduce monsters that we have to kill, that we have to get these, like, we have to level up skills and stuff. It's like a video game almost. Mm-hmm. But it's like these world disasters that you continuously have to beat in order to make it to the next stage of life, and that's the elimination of the population.
Sure. I mean,
that was the story, at least.
But all that's possible. But if you look at David Icke's, the guy from the UK, for example, he talks about this being a simulation, but a bad copy of one, and that those that created it can't create from scratch. They can only manipulate, sort of like the description of the devil, right? But the thing is, they feed on low vibration, fear, war, hatred, right? And
Monsters
as long as, like Monsters Inc., as long as they can keep us locked into that, then they have their food. Right? And I don't know how true that is, but there's a lot of people that talk about similar things. Right?
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. There's, yeah, that makes sense.
Right. So, I mean, there's so many theories out there. You know, the globe, the round globe Earth, right, which was decided back when by math, by Copernicus, when there was no way to prove otherwise. He just proved it with math, and it just stayed. Mm-hmm. Are we really a globe? I don't know. Are we a flat Earth? There's a lot of evidence for that. Are we a simulation? There's a lot of evidence for that. What are we? In a lot of ways, I think it goes back to perception. If I believe this is a flat Earth and we got a dome, then everything that supports that will present it to me, and I will be validated.
Mm-hmm. We become our own validation. Mm-hmm. It's just we find the answers we seek for.
Exactly. And the channeler I was listening to on Gaia the other day, that's one of the things that she said when she was channeling, or whoever she was channeling, said, you find what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. You will find what you're looking for, right? And so if you look at quantum physics and quantum mechanics, right?
Yeah, let's go into that.
Those ideas state that we create moment by moment, that we're creating as we go. Mm-hmm. And without our observation, nothing exists. And they've done like the double slit experiments and things like that with cameras, right? Yep. That showed that if a scientist was observing it, had a different action. And even if a camera's looking, it had a different action. And so the observation, the reason that in their ideas, right, I'm summarizing, that the reason the universe exists is because we observed it. And it stays that way because we believe it's there. So it always will be, right? Mm-hmm.
That's fast.
Isn't that crazy? Let me throw another idea at you. This is way out there, right? So I saw this thing on TikTok or somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. Where somebody held up like a notebook or something you couldn't see through up against a mirror. Mm. And it had like a pile of shampoo or something on the other side of that, right?
Okay.
So something between the mirror holding up something, right? And you go to the side and you look, and you can see that bottle on the back side of that mirror.
Uh-huh.
How does the mirror see that thing that's not actually reflecting?
Mirrors are portals, right?
I think so. But if you go into like my bathroom, for example, I can look in the mirror and I can look down where there's like, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet below the mirror,
Mm-hmm.
and I can look in the mirror and see the floor. That's not literally reflecting.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so I thought about this and I wrote a little article about it, but when I researched mirrors, it specifically says it reflects back light rays that's beamed, that's hitting it.
Mm.
So if what I'm seeing behind the mirror, that shouldn't be there, maybe I'm directing light rays. I'm
Mm-hmm.
producing that reflection because it couldn't possibly be there. Something must be.
But you're observing
Right.
of it. Oh, that's so cool. I love cool stuff like that because it's like, I don't know. People don't think that there's almost supernatural stuff, but there is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's some science behind it somewhere, but I'm a logical guy. I'm like,
Magic is always magic until it's science.
mm-hmm.
So.
One of my family members goes, it's because, what's she saying? Something about the fact that I was manufacturing because I was creating it.
Mm.
I said, but I took it with my phone. Does my phone create it too?
Mm.
I'm like,
Right. Where does that connect?
I don't know. There's just so many crazy things to think about.
And it's all achievable, especially now that we have access to the internet and TikTok. TikTok has so much information. That's why they want to ban it, because now people are collectively, let me just scroll and get all this information. That how was I supposed to even? Because with YouTube you have to search for it. On the internet you have to search for it. TikTok just presents it to you, and so once you get into that vortex, that wormhole, it's like, wow, this is an entire other world I did not know about, that's always there. And then that's why the government wants to come in and control that, I think.
Because they can't censor it, because it's not
Yeah.
it's not part of the United States, if you will, right?
Yeah, they don't want us to know about it,
Well,
I think.
once again, divide and conquer, you can rule, right? And so, I mean, even if you look at, for example, let's talk about the third eye, right? So the third eye really is a physical thing, as you know, right? But for the audience, it's like, it's a pea-sized gland that sits in the middle of your brain. It's the same makeup as these eyes do. Why would that be in a dark space? That's where we do it. That's where our insight happens, our intuition, our connection, right? Our visualization, our sleep-wake cycles, all that. Science is now beginning to think it's the master gland, not the pituitary.
Mm.
So whether that's true or not, when I heard it the first time, I'm like, ooh, that's way more important. I'm going to meditate more, right? But
It's the seat of the consciousness.
it is. But they've known about this for a long time, right? It's been secrets of many, ancient cultures.
Well, the eye
But-
of Horus and all that.
It's also represented by a pine cone, right?
Mm.
If you look at the top of the Pope's staff,
Mm-hmm.
there's a pine cone on the top of it. St. Peter's Square in Rome. Huge statue of a pine cone. It's like in our face.
Yep.
This is the secret, but you can't have it.
It's so incredible.
I don't know. I mean, it's too coincidental to not be true.
Right. Same with like ancient civilizations, like with their architecture and their symbology of these giants and all this. It's like, how can that not be real? How can that not, like, I don't know. It's
Well, if this world is really real and solid, right, and the history is like it's supposed to, they tell us it is, right? Then yes, there were giants. Yes, there were all those things. Structures are built with blocks bigger than we could possibly move today, with such fine
precision.
Precision that you can't even put a piece of paper in it. Where did this technology come? So I think we're ascending. We're on the top of the ascension ramp where they've been before, right?
It's a cycle. It's
It is.
endless cycles.
Right. And, many civilizations, I think this is the fifth generation that's gone. I mean, fifth civilization that we're on, that we know about.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones have ascended to great technology and powers and suddenly left this planet, whether they blew themselves up or whatever happened.
Some kind of ascension, right?
Exactly. So, I don't know. I really think that we're riding the wave right now, and that's why a lot of people are all of a sudden having experiences that they don't understand because the veil is thinning, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
The connection,
it no longer can be a secret, I don't think.
And I think they're trying really hard to put the lid on it. They're really trying hard.
Here's the TikTok I saw earlier.
He's a library planet.
Oh, I know him. Yeah.
It's a massive
secret space program. Yeah, sure.
Library planet. So
I haven't gotten into Gaia,
massive, like an amount of data that is beyond your brain or my brain to even comprehend, like how much data that is. So let's just say that the value
like
of that information
Earth is just a school
beyond priceless,
and we're all here to learn something about ourselves.
Any species that understands that there's
him,
a potential
he was
for
in the
them
secret
to
space
get
program.
access.
I don't know who he is.
I
might spare
a lot of this
expense,
stuff. Yeah.
whether friendly or hostile, in order to gain access to that. So certain species may have decided it's best for them to be friendly with us to try and get a library card, where there may be other species that would rather just steal books from the library.
There you go.
Earth is a library planet, so
Yeah, I think that's cool.
So that guy you're speaking of, right?
Yeah.
I forget his name, but the thing is, he speaks about having been in the secret space program, which sounds really far out, but the idea is that you get recruited at a fairly young age, teenage, early 20s, and you get mandatorily put into the secret space program. You're out in the universe, in an army fighting and doing all these things across, right?
What?
Right, it's called 20 and back, right? So they do 20 years, and then what they do is their bodies tore up from the floor up. So they, according to him, I'm not saying this is true, but I've heard it from more than him. That then they take you to, I think he said, take you to the moon, right, where they have a base, and then they take your consciousness out and they drop you into a new body that's similar to the way you were when you started the program. So it's still you get a new body, right? And they wipe your memory so you don't remember. But I had a guy come in my office right around the time, or soon after I met you, right? That he came in for a reading, and I never even got the cards out. And he started going off and all about these memories that were coming back, right? He's like 65. He described exactly what that guy was talking about. And so I said, so you were part of the secret space program? He looks at me and goes, holy crap.
Yeah, like the realization, like, whoa, like.
Yeah. And so, so that validation is really interesting when you read about stuff and then somebody walks in your office with the same symptoms, if you will. I'm like, so either they're programming people to have the same memories, or this is a real thing.
That has to be real. I like to think it's real because it's more fun to think that.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
He's pretty legitimate when he talks. So I mean, he's not like faulting on answers. He's like right on top of it. But anyway, so it is cool to learn as much as you can about what's going on. So when you have somebody come in, they don't feel like they're stupid or crazy. You're like, well, I've heard all that before. So welcome to the world.
Because people aren't presented with the perception that they aren't crazy for that. It's like I don't know, because there's so much stigma about everything in this world, I think. But I do want the next time we meet for us to get into a session, because I want to learn more about myself and have my subconscious kind of help me understand a couple more things about that. Yeah. How long does that take?
Oh, hypnosis?
Yes.
Usually around 4 hours.
Okay.
But it would be a little less for somebody I know a lot about already. But So it's usually a process of spending an hour to 2 hours really learning about the person, start from zero to now, everything in between, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, uncles, right, experiences, getting that comfort zone, getting that trust, that all that established, going over the questions, making sure you understand them, that they want to ask, and then the process is starts with a small script that they have, which you could use a lot of different ones, but I use the one that I'm publicly stating that I use.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So I read it. Then it jumps into past life regression. So usually 2 to 3 of those, depending on where I'm looking for cues to know when I can jump off and ask to speak to the subconscious, right? Looking for REM, looking for the way you breathe, those kind of things, right? And then I connect with your subconscious, and I ask the questions as your proxy. So Zeke would like to know, I'm asking through, you're the conduit now, I'm asking through you to the source or whomever we're talking to. They usually come in groups, they say we, right? And so then they answer back about you, not.
So are we our consciousness? Are we our subconsciousness, ego? What different parts of ourselves make us us? Because by that saying, it's like almost me and my subconscious are two entities.
So your mind is kind of, there's, depending on what book you read, there's so many levels of consciousness, it's not even funny. If you talk to an anesthesiologist, he'll tell you there's like 23 or something, right? There's a lot, right?
Whoa.
Because they're trying to put you in a very specific state. But basically speaking, you got your conscious mind, which we talked about, your subconscious mind. And then the ego plays the role, it gets a bad rap.
It's supposed to protect you.
It does. And so I met my ego. It's a really wild story. But I met my ego, and it basically told me that it's not what everybody makes it out to be. So you got the conscious mind that can get yourself in big trouble. Your subconscious mind is running programs. And so the ego is the balance between the two. To make sure you're not going way off left field, or you're not staying in old pattern. You know what I'm saying? It's that balance. It's the conduit, the gateway between the two. Okay. Right?
Is this something we do? I want to talk to my ego.
I've done that before.
Yeah?
When I've asked to talk to the subconscious, and sometimes I get a no, or I get nothing. I'm like, well, who am I talking to? Can I talk to the ego? And sometimes, probably about 10 times I've gotten a yes. And the funny thing is, I get the same result.
Huh. What is it?
No, I get the answers, questions answered. Sometimes the ego will come across and go, yep. It'll talk about itself and how, it's funny.
I did that one time, actually. Not. I don't know, it's called active imagination. Carl Jung?
Yeah.
He talked about it. I can go over it right now. But basically it's just inviting this unconscious and having a dialogue with it.
Exactly.
And so this is all that, and it basically just told me like, I'm proud of you.
You can do your own hypnosis in a way. The problem is
I wasn't hypnotized by this though.
No, I'm saying, but sometimes it's best to record it if you're trying to do those deep states, because you may not remember even what you're saying.
Every time I kind of get into a deep meditation, I almost don't remember it. I almost like fall asleep.
That's my point. So if you're speaking it out loud, right? Like Edgar Cayce, when I was telling you about, you have to go look. It's a long story, but he was the guy that could self-hypnotize himself. He wasn't trained; it happens, right? And so the thing that was interesting, but it's like doing hypnosis for somebody, that state, right? But he would go even deeper, almost to near death, right? But he would get the most profound information from people. They had a sickness, he'd come back and they would tell him, well, take this specific tea or this drug or whatever. He was amazingly accurate. But he didn't remember any of it. He had to have people write it down when they didn't have recording.
Oh.
Then when recorders came out, they could record it. But he didn't remember any of it.
Because it's not as conscious.
No, subconscious, right? So he was only the vessel. That's why I say if you're going to try to look at self-hypnosis, you just remember you might have to, like you said, a sitter, somebody that can record might be what's happening or ask questions while you're there.
Whoa. Can that come into like almost possession? That type of deal? What is that?
Well, possession by definition is another entity taking over your body, your mind. Personally, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in.
Because you're a medium, right?
Well, I'm a medium, yes, but I don't believe in curses. I think everything that resembles that, it really just comes within you somewhere.
Yeah.
You are creating that, or somewhere in here you're making it. You're facilitating that. So, like when the guy outside talked about, exorcisms, I'm like, okay. I mean, I didn't say anything, but
yeah.
Point being, I've seen clients that resembled the classic definition of possession, but when it really boiled down to it, you forgot to take your medications. You're really schizophrenic. Okay, got it, right? And so, I don't know if I can answer that objectively because I don't necessarily believe in it. Even with all my experiences,
Mm-hmm.
I've not really seen a true demon.
Yeah.
In all my work. I mean, I've even talked to Lucifer before on many occasions.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly him talking to me, but it's just like any other angel. He's a fallen angel. Good Lord, come on, right?
Yeah, he's not Satan or the devil. He's Lucifer.
Correct.
There's different
And
entities.
he has a job, he has a role, and this is his domain,
Yeah.
right? And so his job is different than God's. It's as simple as that. Right? So
It has to be because there's always that. There's a Hades and then there's a I can't even remember. What's the other guy? A Zeus. There's a Hades and then there's a Zeus and then there's Poseidon. Like there's always that.
There's always got to be good and bad, like you talked about duality. There's got to be both. Because without bad, you wouldn't know what good was.
Yeah.
Without ugly, you wouldn't know what pretty was, right?
Yeah, they always define each other.
Right.
The
problem is always within the solution and the problem are never separate from each other. They're one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for a solution, it's within the problem. If you're looking for a problem, it's within the solution.
That's cool. That's cool. I'm sorry. I'm reading these things to grab off of. Financial security is not happiness.
No.
Yeah.
But really,
It buys comfort.
it buys choices.
That's a good way to put it. It buys more choices. It buys freedom.
You get to choose your pain instead of the pain choosing you. And it also makes you more of who you are. If you become wealthy, it doesn't change you, it just accentuates who you are. If you're an asshole, if you're a butthead, it will make you a bigger butthead.
Yeah, this is true.
Right? It just gives you more privileges and allows you to do more. And better vacations, better things
Yeah.
in life. But it doesn't.
It's not everything.
No, but that's also a poor man's definition. It's not everything, but to a rich man, it is everything. Right?
Yeah. I put this down the other day. I said people without money are, the only thing people without money can't afford is to worry about and stress about money.
Well, here's the thing. If you don't have money, you worry about not having money. If you have a lot of money, you worry about people taking it away. So there's always problems. There's always some kind of dynamic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, more money, more problems.
Right.
Whatever.
They're problems. It's just you have more choices.
Okay.
It really is what it comes down to. In my opinion.
I think so. Most people don't know what they want.
That is the number one problem with every client I have that comes in. It's like, I start with that. It's like, so what do you do? Well, what would you want to do? Well, do you have a dream? Do you have a goal? Okay, well, there's where we're going to start.
Yeah.
Right? I don't care if it's a simple thing. If your dream is to have 5 dogs and that's the only thing you have, that's your goal in life, then let's get 5 dogs. I mean, what's stopping you, right?
Yeah, and then and then you can ask yourself, okay, well, I have this now. What do I really actually want?
Well, I think that's a lifetime objective, though, because, you know, you're obviously much younger than me, but, you know, I'm 62 and I still don't know entirely what I want to be when I grow up. I mean, I do what I love, you know, even my civilian jobs, my regular jobs, I love what I do, but, I mean, there's other things I still want, right? And so, what keeps me from getting all those? Who knows, right? I mean, the dreams are still out there. The goals are still out there. I know where we're trying to go. And so...
I don't think we ever reach our potential. I think it just keeps... Once we reach the ceiling, okay, it's breaking open, next level.
The moment you think you have it all, you might as well go home. The moment you get comfortable, it's a problem. Like the idea of my motorcycle. Like the moment I get comfortable on a motorcycle is the day I die. I need to respect that thing.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
Same thing with life. Right?
Okay. I think that might be a good way, a good
analogy.
Yeah. Let's find out who you are, higher purpose. I don't know. Have you heard of the book or read the book It Works?
Mm-mm.
It's a really short book. It's less than like 50 pages. It basically just says, if you know what you want, if you think about it enough, and you see it, if you imagine it, it'll come true. Yeah, vision boards, manifestation, everything. Like, you just have to...
You have to keep it in front of you.
Yeah, you have to have the vision. You have to have the vision.
Right. So I think the Bible even says that those without vision will perish.
I haven't heard that quote. That's cool. That's cool. I like that.
Right. The Bible's full of great little one-liners.
Yeah, it is. That's why I like to keep it. I'm just like, let me see what it has, because you can open the book to anything. I guess, yeah, with manifestation and stuff, it's just visualizing and law of assumption, assuming that it's going to happen.
Yeah, sort of like when you order something off Amazon. You don't doubt that it's going to come. You know it's coming. You
put the order in.
Right. You don't order it 500 times because you think it's not coming. You're going to get 500 of them eventually. But that's the kind of belief that you got to have. It sounds easy, but it's not.
Yeah.
That's the kind of belief when you put your order in, you know it's coming.
Yeah.
You know, you may not know exactly when it's coming, but you know it's coming.
And you can return the order if your food, your plate comes out how you don't want it. You can send it back.
Right.
And it's like people don't know how to not accept and accept things. I think like we accept the things we don't want, but we don't accept the things we don't want.
Correct.
Or I don't know, whatever.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right?
You know. Yeah. Words are so limited too sometimes.
But in that same
Through
notion,
expression.
yes, I will come back there. But in essence, also, to receive, you need to be as good of a giver as you are a receiver. There has to be balance. You can't completely just receive.
The scales can't be unmatched.
Right? The best way to receive is to learn to give. Right? People say, "Well, I don't have anything to give." Well, you can give something. You can give you time. You can give. You can go by and visit an old couple that's locked up in their house because they can't. Well, there's a lot of things you can do, and that you don't have to have a bunch of money to give.
No, I think the worst thing to do is, for someone to end up getting a bunch of money, and because they don't know what to do with it, that ruins your life.
How many stories have you heard about lottery winners that? It ruined their life. They said, I would never want that much money all at once ever again. Yeah. Because they end up being way poorer than they were when they...
It's a lot of energy that comes with it, too. It's like...
It's a big responsibility. It is. I mean, I've never had a ton of money, but it's not super important to me either. I need enough to keep things going, but, yeah. But what was that thing you were saying before I interrupted you?
Words are very limiting. There's other ways of expression that can convey way more.
So, if you listen to Joe Dispenza, he will tell you something that makes a lot of sense. If you attach an emotion to an intention, it will manifest. I don't know exactly how it puts it, but it will manifest way quicker and more, way quicker, right? Because emotions are what drives human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can put an intention out there, and like I think Eric Thomas, one of those, says something like, if your dream doesn't make you cry, your dream is not big enough, right?
Yeah, if you aren't scared of your dreams, then they aren't big enough.
Right. If you tell somebody your dream and they think, well, that's possible, then you're not big enough. Right?
Yeah.
But point being, attaching emotions to your beliefs and your intentions is the real secret.
I believe it's that heart-mind connection of okay, what do I want? What do I need? Are they aligned?
Yeah, congruent, right? Yeah.
I have here boredom is a stimulation seeking an emotional state. Pay the most attention to when you are bored. It gives you ideas.
Interesting. Well, boredom for people in the world today seems like non-productivity,
Mm-hmm.
because we feel like we always have to be doing something. I'm guilty too, right? I feel like I need to be busy all the time.
People look at you weird when you don't have a job.
Exactly. But the thing is, in the silence, in the stillness is where you find yourself. So being bored can be a very good benefit. I think that's where you're going with this.
Yeah, I think because when we're bored, it's like, okay, how can I have fun? What can I go do? Like what,
It's your creative point, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's
It's like hitting rock bottom, where I got nowhere to go but up.
Mm.
So let's see, where's up?
I think that's it today. I don't know. I think it's having points is also limiting because it's easier when it's just flowing.
I think we kind of hit a lot of areas.
Yeah. 2 hours.
Yeah, and so the I think the real secret to all of this is really just really trusting in your connection and what you get, and just allowing things to flow.
Mm-hmm.
If you're running into doors and you're running into roadblocks all the time, you might want to reassess where you're going, right? It could be you getting in your way, but doing an assessment is really important. Going, is this me blocking, or is this just really not meant for me? Right? Because too many people keep knocking on the same damn door, wondering why every time they go through it, it's the same thing. Well, maybe you keep knocking on the same damn door.
Right? It's like too many people are putting the same things together and expecting a completely different outcome.
Doing the same things over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yeah.
Was it Einstein's definition of madness? I think.
Insanity.
Yeah.
I don't know. I forget who, but
I
yeah.
think it was Einstein. Yeah. But Einstein also says something really interesting: is your imagination is the preview to life's coming attractions. And I just love that one.
Let's end it on that. I like that. That's cool. All right. Thanks, guys.